Good morning. Thank you, Dale. That was beautiful. Good morning and welcome to Allen Avenue Unitarian Universalist Church's in-person and online worship. Whether today is your first time here or you've been coming for years, we're so glad you're here. My name is Kathy Rasco. My pronouns are she and hers, and I'm a member of the Committee on Ministry. We are a growing community that transforms lives through the power of love. Our mission calls us to celebrate diversity, encourage spiritual growth, and promote social responsibility while we travel on and care for our beautiful earth. Welcome also to those at home who are joining us on Zoom. If you are attending for the first time, please go to our website and fill out the welcome card so we can get to know you. Now, I'll hand it over to Reverend Tara for a brief announcement.
So I wanted to take, before we begin, a brief moment to introduce our brand new Committee on Ministry, who will serve for the 2022-2023 church year. If you're here, will you stand? One is Kathy. We also have Celeste Stickney and Jim Mason. So look around. These three are the amazing crew. Thank you. You can sit down. Are the amazing crew who will serve as the COM, C-O-M, Committee on Ministry. And the goal of a Committee on Ministry is to help to foster healthy relationships between the congregation and the minister, to help facilitate right relationship, healthy direct communication, and constructive feedback. So open feedback loops, all critical to the success of our shared ministry. So if you ever want to share feedback or questions or concerns or curiosities, please feel free to reach out to me or to Jim, Celeste, or Kathy. And thank you to all three of you for your willingness to serve in this capacity.
Again, we're so glad you have joined us this morning. We invite you to take this opportunity to silence your cell phone so that we can all be fully present. After the service, please join us for coffee and conversation outside, and those on Zoom may stay on and connect with one another. And now, let us center our hearts and our minds with the ringing of the bell.
Again, good morning. If we haven't met yet, I'm Reverend Tara, and I'm the transitional minister here at Allen Ave A2U Church. It is good to be together, and I say that meaning it in the most theological way it can be. I'm joined today in leadership by Kathy, who is serving as my worship associate, by Dale, our director of music, Emily, our religious educator, and all of you back there and online doing tech, etc. It takes a village. So let us now settle in and prepare ourselves, open our hearts for worship. Our opening words today are a responsive call to worship, and they're written by my colleague and friend, the Reverend Amanda Poppy. It's participatory, so when I extend out my hands to you, I invite you to say together, "This is the home that love made." Let's practice.
This is the home that love made.
It is full of the love that the founders felt when they planned out these walls and raised these beams above us.
This is the home that love made.
It is full of the love of all who have worshiped here, those who have celebrated and grieved here, the babies dedicated, couples married, and family members mourned here. This is the home that love made. It is full of the love of our children as they learn and laugh together, and our youth as they grow into their own sense of purpose and meaning. This is the home that love made. It is full of the love of the staff who have served it, full of their hopes for this congregation, their hard work, and their acts of dedication. This is the home that love made. It is full of the love of the choir, the love made so clear in the voices lifted here on Sunday morning. This is the home that love made. It is full of our love, the love of this community despite our differences and our disagreements, the love that holds us together as a people. This is the home that love made. Can you feel it? Let us hold that love together. You are joyfully called to worship. At this time, I invite anyone under the age of 15 perhaps who might like to come and help me light our chalice to come forward. Maybe over the age of 2. Any takers? Anyone want to come help?
Calvin, do you want to come on? No?
That's okay. I can do it. We light this chalice as we gather again, calling us to our highest values, inviting us to the widest welcome. And we light a second candle today. Maybe Emily, would you light our second candle? A candle of community, an acknowledgement that this evening begins Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, and the beginning of the high holy days. May those among us with Jewish roots have their spirits lifted by this sweet new beginning. Our opening hymn is number 1 in your gray hymnal. May nothing evil cross this door. The words will also, I think, appear on the screen. So please rise in body or in spirit as we join our voices as one. Now is our time for all ages. There we go. Now is our time for all ages. So if you would like to see a little bit better, invitation to come on to the cloud couch, or you can stay right where you are. So raise your hand if you have ever been a baby. Raise your hand. Do you remember what you believed when you were a baby? I don't. Why not? Do babies have beliefs? So the funny thing about babies is that they're not born believers. They're not born Buddhists or Baptists. But after we arrive here in this world, we start to gather ideas, right? We pick up beliefs and ideas about people and animals and families and what's right and wrong. We collect ideas about stars and comets and how everything got started. I'm still confused about that, for the record. We accumulate beliefs about right and wrong, what's healthy and unhealthy, and what's important in life. Does anybody know what that is? A bag. It's a bag, but it's a special bag. It's a belief bag. All these beliefs which we get from our parents and our friends, from the TV, from Emily, go into our belief bag. Now, some religions, some traditions define themselves by what they believe or what's inside the bag. If you are Catholic, for instance, you likely believe that Jesus is the Son of God. If you practice Islam, you are probably a believer in Allah and in the Prophet Muhammad. So that goes in the bag. If you are Buddhist, you probably believe in the Four Noble Truths. So that goes in your belief bag. But Unitarian Universalists don't have just one of those things. What makes us a little different is the way that we carry our beliefs, because there are different ways of holding your belief bag. For example, some people hold their bag like this. They clutch it close to them. They make sure the top is tightly sealed because they don't want their beliefs exposed to any new ideas that could threaten what's inside. When our bag is all closed up like that, we can be closed-minded and miss out. On the other hand, some people are just the opposite. They don't pay much attention at all to what goes in their bag. One idea is as good as the other. And if other folks believe it, or they read it on the internet, or hear it on TV, then it must be true. When we carry our bags in a sloppy manner, we can become sloppy thinkers. And then there are people who carry their bags like this, like a club they use to hit other people. What's inside their bag might sound very nice and sweet. For instance, I believe in peace and kindness and the golden rule, but they use their bag like a weapon. You don't believe in peace? Why, you nasty person, shame on you. I don't know about you, but I have definitely carried my bag like that. But not a single one of these ways is the Unitarian Universalist way, at least the way we aspire to carry our bags. We try instead to carry our bags like this, to carry them with the top open, so that new ideas and experiences can get inside. And old beliefs can be tossed aside, can come out as needed. So we have space to change. And we carry our bags in front of us so that we can see and examine what goes in and what comes out, to be sure it makes sense and fits with the other things we know. And also so that we can see what our neighbors think and share our thoughts with others. Above all, we never use our beliefs or our bags to beat up or bully other people. That's what it means to be a Unitarian Universalist. So the next time somebody asks you, what do the people in your church believe, instead of just laughing, which is usually how I start, you can tell them, for Unitarian Universalists, it is less important what you believe, what is in your bag. It's how you acquire them, hold them, and share them that matters. Thank you, Kathy. And now I invite up Emily.
In a few moments, some of us will go outside to enjoy RE programming. But first, it is with delight that I invite our first lamplighter, Dexter, to join me in the pulpit. A lamplighter is someone who knows the history of the flaming chalice, the symbol of our faith. They are someone who is entrusted to transfer the light of the sanctuary chalice to the lamp and then go forth to RE spaces where they will light the chalices there. Dexter will now light the lamp. I invite those going to religious education outside to follow the lamplighter as we carry the flame, expanding our sacred space.
We are a freely gathered, open, and welcoming faith community supported by your contributions. Each week, 1/3 of our offering is given away to a nonprofit organization whose mission aligns with our Unitarian Universalist principles. This month's Share the Plate recipient is Greater Portland Family Promise, whose mission is to help low-income families and families experiencing homelessness achieve sustainable independence. There is more information about Family Promise in your order of service. Donations can be made now as the basket is passed through the donate button on our website, A2U2.org, or if you are a member, on Breeze. If giving through Breeze, please note if your donation is your pledge or a gift to our Share the Plate. You may also mail a check directly to the church. If you are visiting us for the first time this morning, please know that your presence is your gift to us. At this time, our offering will be collected and gratefully received.
Our reading this morning is entitled, I Want to Be with People. Often people say, that they love coming to a place with so many like-minded people. I know just what they're getting at, and I know they're not quite getting it right. I don't want to be with a bunch of people who think just like me. I want to be in beloved community where I don't have to think like everyone else to be loved and to be eligible for salvation. I want to be with people who value compassion, justice, love, and truth, though they have different thoughts and opinions about all sorts of different things. I want to be with independent-minded people of good heart. I want to be with people who have many names and no name at all for God. I want to be with people who see me and my goodness and dignity, who also see my failings and foibles, and who still love me. I want to be with people who feel their interconnection with all existence and let it guide their movement upon the earth. I want to be with people who see life as a paradox and don't always rush to resolve it. I want to be with people who are willing to walk the tightrope that is life and who will hold my hand as I walk mine. I want to be with people who let church call them into a different way of being in the world, who support, encourage, and even challenge each other to higher and more ethical living. I want to be with people who inspire one another to follow the call of the Spirit. I want to be with people who covenant to be honest, engaged, and kind, who strive to keep their promises and hold me to the promises I make. I want to be with people who give of themselves, who share their hearts and minds and gifts. I want to be with people who know that human community is often warm and generous, sometimes challenging, and almost always a grand adventure. In short, I want to be with people like you.
True
want to be with people who know that human community is often warm and generous, sometimes challenging, and almost always a grand adventure. The words that have been guiding my beginning to this grand adventure, my time in this generous and challenging human community, is a phrase credited to 19th century Baptist preacher Charles Spurgeon. Begin as you mean to go on. Begin as you mean to go on. And so as we are beginning this season of autumn, this new ministry together, and a new chapter of life for this congregation, in order to begin as we mean to go on, we must have a sense of how we want to go on. We must do some dreaming and imagining of who and whose and how we want to be. And that vision, that dreaming, can then become a guide for our beginning, for the here and for the now. So, how would we like to go on? 2 weeks ago, when we celebrated in-gathering here together, we talked about how the church is not the building, about how the church is not the minister. We talked together about how the church is the people, right? How the church is the people. The church is a human community, a body of people gathered these days across distance and across time even. And as a Unitarian Universalist community, as the visual of an open bag reminded us earlier, we are bound together not by what we do or do not believe, not by what is in the bag. We're bound together by the way that we choose to be together, the way we choose to gather, the way we choose to treat one another and be in the world. We are bound together by not dogma nor creed, but by covenant. We are bound together by covenant. And so the strengths of our bonds rely on the strengths of our covenants. We are bound together by covenant, which is the promises we make, the promises we break, and the promises we renew. How do we mean to go on? Well, as Unitarian Universalists, we mean to go on with a commitment to our covenantal relationships, a commitment to keeping the way we hold our bag at the center of all that we do. In every single church community I have been part of, there has been some level of skepticism about our Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations, also known as the UUA. The individualistic American culture in which all of our congregations are steeped has made for very independent churches, most of whom have some, if not a lot, of resistance to authority in their institutional DNA. It's part of what makes us who we are. But interestingly, one of the forms I've seen this skepticism, or we'll call it curiosity, take, especially in the last handful of years, is skepticism, questions, comments like, the UUA seems to really be pushing covenant in congregations. Or whenever we work with consultants from the UUA, all we do is talk about covenant. Or, my favorite, covenant is the new buzzword for new ministers, isn't it? And I believe that these can feel true to many people in congregations, especially those whose primary engagement with our faith is in congregational life. Because you know what? We as congregations and as a larger movement have put covenant on the back burner for a long time. Too long. And we've done so to our own detriment. The final report of the UUA's Commission on Institutional Change, a group who was charged with studying and analyzing structural and systemic racism and white supremacy culture within Unitarian Universalism, this report included many recommendations and action items to help our communities better live our values and to better address issues of systemic oppression. And you know what the number one recommendation was that came up again and again and again? Focus on covenant. Crap. Buzzword. Focus on covenant. Those of us, ministers and lay people alike, who are using these recommendations to guide us forward, who are using these recommendations as our vision for how we mean to go on, are talking about covenant a lot. And let me just warn you, I am one of them. And so the why are we obsessing about covenant questions are fair, because you're right. We are talking about covenant more. We're talking about it a lot. Because we realize that we as a faith have fallen short in maintaining the integrity of our bags, our faith. We want to do better. We need to do better. The health and essential promise and ideals of our Unitarian Universalist faith depend on it. I want to share with you an excerpt from the Widening the Circle of Concern report that really helped me understand the connection between strong covenantal relationships and anti-oppression work. Quote, covenant and commitment, not comfort, should be the binding fabrics of UU congregations and communities. Our faith communities are not just available for those who fit in most easily, or for those who have made so much trouble no one is willing to change them. New generations have even more discomfort with and lack of tolerance for this sort of culture. Our covenant calls us to hold urgent and dear Unitarian Universalism's aspirations to build the beloved community with diversity, inclusion, equity, compassionate justice, and an acknowledgement of our interdependence with all other forms of life. If freedom and individualism are our most important values, they continue, we have little to offer at this time. If freedom and individualism are our most important values, we have little to offer in this time. And so, we begin as we mean to go on. We mean to go on as an inclusive and loving, anti-oppressive, anti-racist community where we can be different, where we can disagree, where our bags can be full of different stuff, where we can bring all of who we are, all of our identities to the table, and where there'll be a seat for us waiting when we arrive. And so we must begin in covenant. We must begin by centering process and promises and accountability, right? And this congregation already has a covenant. Did you know that? Well, we might be talking about a different covenant. Because the covenant I'm talking about is an unspoken covenant that we, just like every other church and every other community, have. And the unspoken covenants that we have are absolutely a start, but they can't be the end point. They can't be where we stop. Because if a covenant, if a way of being together, an expectation for how we treat one another is unspoken, these expectations and promises, well, think of the people who get left out, right? People who are new, people from different cultural backgrounds who have different experiences than the dominant culture, people with less power and less social capital. So we have to make our promises to each other clear and accessible so that we can hold one another accountable, so that our bag of beliefs stays open and in front of us as we journey together. This is why we invite each committee, each religious education session, each group who gathers in this space to go through the process of covenanting together. Put the paper on the board, get the Sharpie out. It's holy work. It's holy work. This is why the board spends a whole day in August talking about our covenant, and why I, as a minister, am in covenant with and accountable to my colleagues, this congregation, the Unitarian Universalist Association, and the UU Ministers Association. My ministry, our shared ministry, and our relationships, all of our relationships with each other, are held in a complex and incredible web of promises. It's amazing. But even our written covenants, our pieces of paper with the Sharpie, are not actually the end point. A favorite theologian of mine, Rebecca Parker, says that the written covenant is the icing on the cake. But the cake, the actual cake itself, is how we live. Our covenants are living documents. We speak them, we breathe them, we lean on them, and they shape us and guide us and stir in us things that is why we gather, right? And so we have to use them. Use them as inspiration for right speech, right action, and right relationship. And use them as a container for conversation about harm, accountability, and repair. For this work right here, this work that happens in the spaces between us, this is the holy work of our faith, This is the holy work of our faith, and this is the home that love made. This is the home that love made, this church, this tradition, this living faith. It is full to the brim of our love, the love of this community despite our differences and our disagreements, the love that holds us together as one people. So we begin as we mean to go on, in covenant and in love. And we'll go on from there as we began, with bumps along the way, sure, probably a lot, but I have a feeling that it will be a grand adventure. May we make it so. Amen. And at this time, I invite Anne to come forward.
At this time, we invite you into the practice of beginning as we journey forward into our shared ministry with Reverend Tara. Many UU congregations begin their time with new ministers by making and affirming mutual promises and covenants. We will engage in this ritual together now. Will those in the sanctuary please rise in body or spirit, and those in Zoom rise in spirit, and join me when prompted by responding, "We will." Reverend Tara, we welcome you as our partner in ministry at this threshold of our journey together. We will use our hands, our hearts, our vision, and our voices to help and not to harm this beloved community through this time of transition.
I too will use my hands and heart, my vision and voice to help and not to harm your beloved community through this time of transition.
Congregation, will you share your portions of truth with Reverend Tara? We will. And will you listen deeply to what she says that we may grow in understanding? We will.
I too will share my portions of truth with you and will listen deeply to what you say that I may grow in understanding.
Will you dare to disagree agreeably with Reverend Tara, to dream what we may become, and to venture down some untried paths as we make ready for that which is to come? We will.
I will dare, as I already have, to speak hard truths to you as best I can discern them, to hold up a mirror so that you can see your past and present clearly, and to make some empty space here for the new to enter in.
In this brief and precious time,
may we be a blessing to each other, and may we be a blessing to the world. And the church says, Amen. You may be seated. Actually, you don't sit down. We're going to sing. Our closing hymn is We Are Building a New Way. If you want to read the music, it's in your teal hymnal 1017 or on the screen. Rise in body and in spirit and join me in song. seated. Hear these words of benediction by the Reverend Dr. Howard Thurman. Keep fresh before me the moments of my high resolve, that in fair weather or in foul, in good times or in tempests, I may not forget that to which my life is committed. Our worship has ended, and our service begins. Go in peace and in love, in covenant and in joy.